A good Erev Shabbos, everybody. Welcome to Jerry's Parsha Ponderings for Parsha's Vayeira. I want to apologize that this is going up so late. This was one of those weeks I was running up and down the East Coast, so I wanted to make sure that I got this in right before Shabbos, at least here in New York and New Jersey. So here we go with Jerry's Parsha Ponderings for Parsha's Vayeira. And I have to say about Vayeira exactly what I was saying about Lech Lecha last week. We are not even touching the surface here. These Parshiot are so rich with material, so much to talk about. And wow, I said Lech Lecha. If you're a bar mitzvah Parshas Lech Lecha, man, you're lucky because there's a lot to talk about, and Vayeira is certainly no different. Where do we start? The malachim and the eating and the not eating, but we kind of have to focus in on what I feel is one of the most important parts of all of Jewish history, and that, of course, is the Gerush of Hagar and Yishmael. And we know that Hashem tested Avram in lots of different ways, and he had lots of challenges. But this was probably one of the most difficult challenges that Avraham had to face, was throwing out his maidservant and his son. Yishmael was his son, and he had this is the son that he just had a bris milah with when he was 90, and Yishmael was 13 years old. It was traumatic for someone, someone like Avraham, whose whole raison d'etre was chesed, to have to send away a maidservant and a child. Yet the Torah tells us, Kol asher tomar Sarah shma b'kola. He had to listen to Sarah. As difficult as it was for him, whatever Sarah said, he had to listen to exactly what she was saying. And he had a very, very hard time with this because, again, it goes so against his inner fabric. Yet, we saw in Parshat Lech Lecha that when the Malach came to Hagar, he said, Hu yihiyeh pera adam, he will be a wild ass of a man. And he was engaging in behaviors that Sarah was not comfortable with. And because of that, because Hashem had told Avraham that Ki v'Yitzchak yikarei lecha zara, that Yitzchak will ultimately carry the mantle and be the next link in the chain, in order to keep Yitzchak away from negative influences. And we saw this again last week with Lot, that Yishmael had to go, as difficult as that was for Avram Avinu to have to deal with. But he did it, and he did what Sarah said. Chachmat nashim banta beta, a mama, a Yiddish mama, she sees what's going on. Sophia halicho de beta, she saw that this was a danger to her son's neshama. And because Yishmael is the para adam, the wild ass of a man, he had no place being around Yitzchak Avinu. And at the end of the day, we see do we see this week what kind of wild ass of a man Yishmael can be? And again, as politically incorrect as it might be, and as kahana as it might be, right? Sorry, it just doesn't work. You can't have this quote-unquote coexistence to the way that the modern world wants Am Yisrael to coexist with the para Adam. It's just not going to work. It's in the DNA. No matter what we offer them, it's not going to be good. They're not going to take it, and there will constantly be a state of war until, as my good friend Zahava says, what we need is an iron will, not an iron dome. And we have to have the will to keep Eretz Yisrael the way that Hashem wants us to. Now, look to this point. What happened? What happened right before the Akedat Yitzchak, when Avraham was given the ultimate test of taking his beloved child Yitzchak to the Akedah, to bring him up as a sacrifice, although we realize he didn't actually do it, he just had to bring him. He didn't actually have to sacrifice him. Yet, look what happened. He made a pact with Avimelech. Vayichretu Shneihem Brit. They made a pact, and he says, I'll give you some part of the land, and I'll have my land, and you'll have your land. And he wasn't supposed to do that. Hashem gave Eretz Yisrael to Avram Avinu and to his children. He wasn't supposed to make any deals with the Gazans, because who was Avimelech? Melech Gerar. This was Aza. These were the Plishtim. They have no foothold in Eretz Yisrael. Yet Avram, in the name of peace, remember, Avram's a chesed dude. He's a good guy, right? He wants everybody to get along. And listen, that's who we are. We are Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, Rachmanim, Baishanim, Gomlei Chasadim. It's in our nature. Yet our test is sometimes, as the old bird song said, BYRD, there's a time for peace, and there's a time for war, and there's a time for love, and a time for hate. And excuse me to the birds, but I think Shlomo HaMelech had that a little bit earlier in Kohelet, right? But this was Avraham going according to his nature, which is chesed, but he got a little too chesedy, and there is no foothold for the Gazans, for the Plishtim in Eretz Yisrael. And because of that, right after that, it says, Achar advarim ha'ela v'Hashem nisat Avram. He had to be tested after this. And it was, I said, throwing out Yishmael was a terrible test. But this was it, the binding of Yitzchak. And it was yet Avram, Vayashkem Avram baboker, he got up and he did what he had to do. And it's very interesting. If you look at the trup, by where it says that Avraham threw out Hagar and Yishmael, it was like a munach revi. It took him time. It wasn't easy for him. Yet with Akedat Yitzchak, he had to get up and go, because he realized that this is the ultimate test, and he has to pass it. And we know that he got up, he took his donkey, and away he went to Hara Moriah. In this beautiful graphic, you can see that Hara Moriah, the binding of Yitzchak, is the exact place of the Beit HaMikdash. And because Avram realized that even though to him, this was his ultimate tshuva, he knew, even though he kvetched with the whole Yishmael thing and he wasn't happy about it, as tough as this was, he realized, no, this time I've got to step up. And even though it goes against everything that I've been preaching, everything that I've been missionizing about my whole life, which is the anti-avodah zarah, getting away from human sacrifice and all these things that were just so heinous, Avram realized he had to show that no matter, as senseless as it may be to him, ultimately what Hashem says is what's important. And we don't necessarily know what we think is best. Only Hashem knows that. And that was how Avram passed the test, the ultimate test of Akedat Yitzchak. And we are the offspring of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. We have this running through our DNA. And just as Avram had to pass his test, we all have a test that we have to pass. We want to be part of Hashem's team. And again, the way to do it, the ultimate way to do it, is with Shabbos. Shabbos is the Makar HaBracha. And as we see, even Snoop here, this is for you, Ruch. We know you love Snoopy. So even Snoopy is resting on Shabbos, right? Shabbos is the Makar HaBracha. We want to show Hashem we're on our team. Have an absolutely wonderful, wonderful Shabbos. Think about some of these points and how what makes sense to us isn't always what makes sense to Hashem, and we have to make His will our will. A guten Shabbos, Rabbi Say. Have an absolutely wonderful Shabbos, and hopefully I'll be back next week, Be'ezrat Hashem, with Parshas Chayesara. That's another juicy one. So we'll see you next week. A good gesund gebenchte Shabbos to everyone.